Welcome back to Like-Minded Arts. I'm Brent Lindstrom, and today we are going to be talking about the blame game. But before we get into that, I hope you enjoy this little skit.
Skinhead versus Lightning Dude. Round 1. Ready. Fight!
Why isn't this working? Wait, I'm trying something.
Dude, no fair. Alright, so today we're talking a little bit about blame. Now, blame is kind of a weird topic. I get that, and I don't know, maybe there's other people on YouTube talking about this too, but as far as we're concerned, when we're trying to create a successful business, a successful life, and we're talking about all the things that go into that, how does blame fit into that? Well, we've all been wronged in some way or other in our life. Life is not perfect. And maybe somebody has done us wrong, maybe a company has done us wrong, and it's not really kind of the direction I want to go with this when I mention the word blame, because if you say that you shouldn't blame other people for the wrong they do you, then you're taking away basically justice on their end. And that's not what I'm really talking about. What I'm talking about is your personal accountability for when things go wrong or when things don't go quite as you would plan. So when we blame other people for holding us back from achieving the dreams and goals that we have, that's when we start falling into dangerous territory. Now, true, maybe somebody crashed into us and we are paralyzed from the waist down, or worse. I hope not. But is it right to blame them for what they did? Yeah, probably. Is it right to say that because of them, you can never achieve any degree of success in your life ever again? That's where it gets a little bit gray here, because you're basically turning over your life as being over. That sounded weird. You're basically admitting that your life is over because of something someone else did to you. Now, this can come in a lot of forms, really. It can come in the form of culture. It can come in the form of family. It can come in the form of health. There's a lot of ways that even those who love us the most can hold us back from achieving the things that we really want to do in our lives. And the hard thing is if you're feeling like somebody has done something like that to you, then you can become discouraged, you can become distracted, and you can start feeling like the world is against you. Maybe YouTube's algorithm isn't pushing your videos out to enough people. Maybe the publishers rejected your books because maybe they got something against you, or maybe in reality they just got too many books that they can't read them all. Maybe the government is to blame for all your problems, or maybe God's to blame for your problems. And frankly, we all know people who blame each and every one of these kind of things for whatever situation they're in their lives. Let me tell you a little story. So a few years back, I was trying to put together a business venture with my brother-in-law. And we wanted to build a swimming pool company. I had built a lot of pools in the past. I knew how to build pools. In fact, I continued to build pools after that company inevitably failed. Yes, it failed, even though I knew how to do this, and since I was the one financing the venture, I ended up losing $500,000 in that failed venture. Now, there was a lot of weeks afterwards that I spent trying to figure out where I could assign blame, because I didn't feel like it was my part that had failed. At least I didn't at first there. So I was looking at everything that could have gone wrong. So I knew how to build a business. I knew how to run a business. I knew how to build swimming pools. And I knew how to do all these things. And so obviously the problem couldn't be with me, right? Maybe it had to be somewhere else. Could it have been due to COVID? Could it have been due to my employees or the two partners I brought in on this? Could it have been due to any other number of things? And I saw my folly in this. Yes, I probably could have pointed out where some of them had failed. But as soon as I started thinking along those lines of what they did wrong, I started realizing that I was probably the one most responsible for the success of the company. This wasn't their failure. This was my failure. I was able to turn or reframe that around so that rather than pointing fingers at everything that could be wrong or everyone that I could get angry with, I pointed it back to me and turned it into a lesson opportunity. I turned it into something where I could start a new business venture down the road, and I wouldn't have those kind of blind spots in my radar anymore. It made me a better business owner. It made me a better person. It made me more observant. It helped me to see where I could do better. And if I was to just blame somebody else for all my problems for losing that $500,000, then yeah, I wouldn't have learned those lessons. I would have probably gone down a bitter spiral, feeling like maybe my employees hadn't contributed enough, or maybe they'd wasted time, or maybe, I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm just saying that there was a lot of reasons that I could have copped out of turning the camera on me and seeing what could I have done better to make this business work. So that was a really good inspirational thing for me. Now this also reminds me of another story. So when I was in college, I had a good friend. He was really athletic, just a good guy, and he could probably run up mountains all day, all night. Super great guy. And we had this other friend, and he was more of the sedentary type. He wasn't overweight or nothing at all like that. He just spent a lot of time indoors, behind computers, things like that. Didn't get out a whole lot. And then you had me. I really enjoyed hiking. I didn't consider myself an athlete by any stretch of the imaginations, but I could handle my own on a hike, even if it was a full-day hike. And so we picked a really tall mountain in Utah, one of the taller in our areas, and we decided to go hiking up it. So we left early in the morning, and I planned accordingly. I brought a couple of liters of water because I knew I'd need that. I brought a couple of snacks with me, just something to keep me hydrated and in good shape for the hike. Now, my companion there, the athletic one, he was just as prepared as I was. He knew his limits. He knew what he needed, and we were both really prepared. The other guy we brought with us had never done anything like this before. He opened up his backpack, and he had a couple packages of Gatorades. I think he probably had a dozen Gatorades with him. And we looked at that and thought, man, that's a lot for this little trip that we're taking. And, it was supposed to be something where you hike up, maybe get there, we leave at maybe 7, get there by maybe 10 or 11, and then hike down, be back a little bit later, maybe 1 or 2 o'clock, and then head out to a lunch or something like that. But he had brought so much water, he was carrying around so much weight on his back. And the funny thing is within the first hour of the hike, He had drinking all of it. It was all gone. This was a big red flag to me and my other friend, and we realized he is out of shape. He is not going to do very well on this hike. So there was the option of having him turn around and wait for us at the car, or we could all turn around and go back together. He didn't want to do that. He decided he wanted to push on with us, and so we kept going. About another hour into the trip, me and my friend, we had both just taken small sips of our water is all we needed. We were doing pretty good. And this other guy, he looked like he was about to die. I mean, he was half crawling up this mountain trail that we were going on, and I mean, he looked pretty bad. So I gave him one of my waters, and he completely guzzled the whole thing right then and there. And I was like, oh crap, this isn't good, because now I'm down a full liter of water that I needed, and we're not even halfway up the mountain yet. Maybe we were halfway by then. And I thought, how are we going to make it all the way up with him? And we looked at the mountain, we looked at him, we thought maybe we can do it, get up there. There's some white caps up there. So white cap, we had snow that hadn't melted from the winter. And so we thought, okay, we can do this. We can get up there. We can refill our water bottles with this snowpack that's up there, and we'll be good. We'll just take a little extra break up there. About 3/4 of the way up, he was really suffering again. I gave him the last of my water. So we still had a quarter away to go up the mountain, another hour and a half hike up. And for that last little while, I was getting really exhausted myself. So, I mean, this was a challenging hike. I mean, it was probably simple enough for my athletic friend. For me, it was a challenge. For the other guy, he shouldn't have been there. Anyhow, by the time we get up to the mountain, I'm starting to feel the beginnings of heat exhaustion. And the friend that we had there, he was way worse than I was. I mean, he was probably, within a margin of having a full-on heat stroke episode or something. But we laid down on the ice pack. We just kind of took an extra half hour to an hour to cool down, refilled our water bottles with the snow and started that to melting. And yeah, we thought, okay, we can do this. We'll just chill out. We're just going to go back down the rest of the way after that. And the funny thing about getting heat exhausted is it doesn't go away right away. And I'd had a little experience with this, but not a whole lot. And this was a really good learning experience for me. The friend we had there was in super bad shape, and I wasn't in the best of shape then either because, I'd already begun the heat exhaustion thing. Now at that point, I just hadn't had anything at all to drink the whole walk up or the whole hike up. About a quarter of the way down the mountain, he lost all energy. He could not continue on. He had already drunken all the rest of his water from up there. I had drinking mine. We luckily found another patch of snow. It was on the shady side of the mountain. We refilled there. We took a half-hour break. My athletic friend, he just kept on going. He was like the Energizer Bunny. But me and this other guy now, we were in tough shape. I knew that I could make it down. I knew it wasn't going to be easy, but I wasn't sure if we was going to get our other friend down. And so, despite all that, I could have blamed him. I could have blamed him for being on the mountain. I could have blamed him for exhausting all of his water. I could have blamed him for taking all of mine, or for not turning back when he saw that this was going to be a problem for him. But the brutal truth is that I gave him that water. I did not turn around with him when things were looking rough at the beginning. I did not insist that this hike was something that we should reconsider. I kept pushing through because I wanted to hike to the peak. And because of that, I was probably at fault for encouraging him to continue on the hike. I was at fault for me being in the rough shape that I was in. And the more I looked back on that, the more I thought, this wasn't that guy's fault. This was a failure on my part. And I mean, I'm sure we could all look at ourselves and find where we each made some bad decisions on that hike. And so rather than getting angry with anyone, I decided, what, we're going to take this slow. I told our athletic guy, go ahead, just if you need to go ahead, we'll meet you down at the bottom, but we're going to be really slow coming down. So I stayed with this guy, I helped him, and we just took a lot of breaks. By the time I got down, I was feeling so sick. I mean, I wanted to puke all over my friend's car. I mean, I was just so out of it, and I know the other guy was too. He was in pretty bad shape. I mean, I'm not even sure if he was able to walk or if we had to carry him into the car, but we all got down the mountain okay, and after several hours of recovery, we were all safe and things worked out fine. But the thing is, yeah, I could have blamed anyone but myself, but I chose not to, and because of that, I learned some great lessons. I learned, how far to push myself, how far to push others. I learned just some important life lessons through that. And some of the times when we feel like we can't go on because of someone else's decisions that maybe affected us, the more we can realize, yes, we can go on. We can push through the hard times. I didn't want to keep going when I was heat exhausted, but I did. And frankly, I've learned throughout the years that a lot of times when you need to do things, maybe it's work, marathon runners know this. You push yourself, and then when you think you can't push yourself anymore, you keep pushing yourself. If you give up at the first sign of weakness, at the first sign of anything, you're going to find out how far you can't go really quick. But if you keep pushing yourself, you're going to find out how far you really can go. Don't allow other people and what they do in your life to restrict what you can do in your life. There's so much potential in you. There's so much that you can do that, the sky's the limit. Don't give up. And if you start to blame other people for your problems, you're going to spiral down a really depressing hole. You're going to give up before you ever start on a lot of projects. You're going to ruin marriages, ruin your relationship with the people that you really love. We've all seen countless things like this where somebody doesn't take accountability for their own actions. Rather, they blame someone else or some other circumstance for everything that went wrong. And it's poisonous. Don't poison yourself with blame. Allow yourself to forgive. Allow yourself to look inward. Don't shame yourself for some of these things that maybe you could have blamed someone else for, or maybe that you really did have a failing on your end for. Take it as a learning opportunity. Push through it and find out where your limits really are, and you will grow incredibly, and you will find success in so many more aspects of your life than you ever dreamed possible. So that is why I suggest that you avoid blaming other people for your circumstances, for the bad things in your life, because really, that's just assigning all your accountability to someone else. I hope you have learned something from this. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope I wasn't too repetitive there, but I look forward to seeing you next time. And till then, if you feel like supporting me or the channel, check out my website. Maybe buy one of my books. I do fictional books. I dabble in all sorts of genres. And my latest book, One for the Money, Two for the Soul, is currently out. It is available in almost all bookstores, and you can even find it on Spotify if you want to listen to it. That's all. See you next time.